Well, everybody, welcome. My clock says it's time to start, so feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. And I have a friend keeping an eye on it to let me know if there's any questions or comment. There's a bit of a delay between the live and the YouTube feed, so give me a second to respond when it catches up. All right. Let's get this show started. Let's see. All right. Okay, I have started the recording. It's official. Here we go. I will share my screen. And we will begin. So my name is Sherry Liptak, also known as Sherry Teacher on Twitter. I'm going to share with you a website that I found called ThingLink, and it's a Microsoft affiliate, so that embeds some neat tools. I'm going to start with an acknowledgement, something we do here in BC. We acknowledge where we're at and what we're doing. So I acknowledge that I'm privileged to teach and learn on the ancestral, traditional, and unceded territory of the Stalo people. And quite a few of my students are Indigenous people, so this acknowledgement is doubly important. Oops. All right, so ThingLink. It's a way to create interactive images. So you can have students review what they know or demonstrate what they know. You can present and deliver materials. You can collate and collaborate with students and colleagues. And I think it is a great way to teach curriculum remotely. You can co-create lessons with your students and you get that engagement because they own a piece of the lesson. You can do that with jigsaw activities where you assign different groups certain elements of the image to work on. And it has multiple access points for students of varying levels to join in where they can. So shape of the presentation, it's 30 minutes. It's going to be fast. So I'll do my brief introduction and I think one housekeeping element because you're not live in the Zoom session. We'll do a walkthrough of ThingLink. I'll show you one that my colleague and I created together for her science unit. And then hopefully someone will shoot out an idea and we'll co-create an interactive image together. So I will just ask one person to give me a theme. So if you could start thinking about that, subjects and topics that you've seen in classrooms that you think this could work with, toss me an idea. I'll find an image and we will work together to create the tags. And I'm curious how this will go with the lag between Zoom and YouTube, but we'll give it a shot. I think it'll work. And I have this little badge here because I took a course on ThingLink. It took me all of 10 minutes. So introductions. As I said, my name is Sherry Liptak. I'm an itinerant ELL teacher in Chilliwack, BC, Canada. I realized I've been teaching for almost 10 years now, all of it with language learners, but I'm new to co-teaching and really invigorated about the possibilities of being in the classroom and supporting students where they live and breathe. All the elementary schools in Chilliwack are served by an itinerant model. We each have about 50 students in kindergarten to grade 5, and we teach at 2 or 3 different schools. Last year I was at 3 schools. This year I'm at 2 schools. But that also puts us working in 20 or so classrooms with 20 or so teachers. Okay, apparently my screen has gone missing and I don't know what has happened there. I'll try to share again and see if it gets any better. That looks a little promising. Let's hopefully that works. My slide presentation will be shared on the VirtuEL website. I created a bit.ly link, easy to remember. So intro to ThingLink, you can go and help yourself to these slides if you missed my beginning. And look me up on Twitter and follow me, ask questions or share any ThingLinks that you've made. Twitter is my happy place. If you haven't learned to adore it yet, you know, rethink it. I really streamline my Twitter. I follow only people who inspire and uplift my career. It's the place I go when I need a pick-me-up. I have Facebook for trolls in real life and following people, but Twitter, I very much controlled my feed. So it's, I know if I'm seeing it on Twitter that it's gonna make me happy. So let's get into ThingLink just to kind of get you started about potential ideas so that some brave soul will give me a theme to co-create one later in the presentation. You could create an interactive greeting card, maybe to introduce yourself to your class. You know, if it's a picture of you in your classroom, students can click on things and get to know you, get to know your classroom, get to know your school. You could have students create an interactive book report for a book that they're reading or for a book that the whole class is reading. You could make vocabulary posters. I did one ThingLink for a student who was practicing articulation, and I was struggling to understand the difference between 13 and 30. So I created a ThingLink with all the teen numbers and their corresponding 10-1 numbers. So this student could practice at home hearing and speaking that. Introductions ties into your interactive greeting card. Students could create them if they want you to get to know them. You could make an interactive herbarium if you're an outside teacher, or an interactive classroom if you're an inside teacher. Label parts of nature, label parts of the room. Comic strips, interactive timelines, I think are very relevant in any social studies and history class. Explain details of an image is, I think, an easy place to start. And I think of that one sort of like PWIM, gone digital. So PWIM, the picture word inductive model, if you have an image and then you can label parts of it and the students can practice their vocabulary, you can give them sentence stems or whatnot. You can make an interactive map for social studies or history if you have students, you know, researching a province or state, depending where you come from. And dioramas. Students make dioramas in the classroom all the time. So take a picture of their diorama and then you can make it interactive so they can share it with their classmates and they can click on things and show you, explain to you what they've done on their image. Okay, gotta stop clicking on things in my presentation here. All right, so here's a few examples I found you that you can explore at your leisure. Somebody in the ThingLink community made a book review on the book Tom Sawyer. Somebody did a research project on a province or a country. One of the classrooms that I was working with was doing the water cycle. So I worked on an image of the water cycle to help a student with a developing level of English participate in her class and to show the teacher that, you know, she didn't need to be pulled away from everybody, that we could enrich the material for the whole class. Welcoming videos. you can use 360-degree videos in ThingLink. So I was thinking for this virtual world, especially for the kids who transitioned to new schools, you could make a welcome to your school video and, walk through the school with your video, and then you could label, secretary, office, your bathroom, your locker, and things like that. You could help students get to know the school before they're there. I'll show you mine. Here is the respiratory system that Tess and I created. We worked on this together, and she had a student teacher at the time, so we had her participate as well. We wanted to put right at the top the focus. We wanted the students front and center. This is why we are doing what we're doing. And I added a tag here that speaks. So the students could hear my voice read this to them. I don't know if you'll hear it if I play it.
Multicellular organisms have organ systems that enable them to survive and interact within their environment.
I kept my tags thematic. So students know that if they push play, it will read the text to them. If it is a little red dot with a white circle, then it is the definition of a tier 2 vocabulary word with an image, a dictionary definition, and I added translations for their languages. So that's what all the red dots are for. There's another red dot down there. There's another one hiding behind my picture. These ones here were what I was thinking we could have students create. And the ones in yellow are just because we referenced our curriculum, and these were the only ones that were specifically targeted in the curriculum. So it helped us focus on doing a few things better instead of doing quite so much. But the room is there if you want to expand it that way. Like I said, multiple access points. This yellow one is to just so they can hear the word. Okay, so I tied my tags. That's just the way my brain works. It likes to keep things grouped. So that's where we started. So let's make a ThingLink here. If you go to thinglink.com, there's a create button at the top. You'll need to create yourself an account, but totally free. They do have paid premium subscriptions, but that's based on views. And I think the basic free model comes with like 10,000 views. And I don't know about you, but I think I can work with that. So create something. Upload an image. You can upload video, virtual reality, 360 video, but I focused on just an image. And here's the image that Tess and I started with before we thought to add the headers to it. This was just the base image. So add a tag. It'll appear. Don't worry, you can drag it anywhere you want. So I stuck with mostly text and media tags. You can play around with the others. And you can change the icon. I'll come back to that later because you can get lost in icon world. Give your tag a title. With big picture to small picture, we're zoomed in here. So we zoomed in on the nasal cavity for our first tag. Add a description. I copied it right from Wikipedia, copy and paste, and it has immersive reader built right in. So students can have these definitions read to them in their language. Struggling readers can have definitions read to them in English. You can narrow it down to have it read line by line to help students focus. There's a picture dictionary embedded in immersive reader so students can look up any word they need. You can add a button if you want them to have more information, and you can label that button. You can tell them where they're going or what they're doing, more. Be creative. Add an image from your big picture to a zoomed in picture. So either just, crop your image so it's more focused, or find one that's specific to this tag. And add a recording. Students will get a kick out of hearing your voice, or better yet, record your students and they'll get a kick out of participating in the creation process. So if you don't want your students creating an account, you can do this together, share your screen on whatever Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams, whatever platform you're using, and take student input to create this. So here's a beginner of what it starts to look like. It has a tag over here for this one. It has a tag over here if they want to listen to vocabulary. You decide what you like. Here's the tags I was talking about. Whoa, take a breath. There can be a lot. And your tags have subtags. So I was thinking about yellow. So when I clicked on tag number 1, I made it yellow. I could do teams, and I could have a red team and a green team and a yellow team. If I'm doing like jigsaw sort of activities, I could do it that way. I could do, you know, things we're listening to, things we're hearing, things we're reading, lots of choices in tags. And then when you're done, make sure you go over to the settings and save it as public. So you can copy a link, and then your students can access this from any device, anywhere that they're at, and they can interact with the image. They can't edit it. They can just interact with the image. So save your collections. You're going to use these year after year. So I gave you what? 15 minutes to think of a theme. Any of my YouTube people have something they're willing to share? Let's get out of here and into ThingLink. Let's create something. So Tess, do we have anybody over there volunteering something that we can use? I think if we didn't get a volunteer, I had Tess get me a plan B just in case. Ants. All right, Amber. Any narrow it down there for what you're thinking about ants? We study ants, so let's see if we can find an ant colony. Let's see. Whoops, not a fancy one. Ant colony. All right. Ooh. This one looks promising. Let's take this image, hey? All right. Oops. Ant colony. All right. So here we go. We're going to upload an image, and we put in our ant colony. If I was doing this with my students, I could, let's share this again. If I was doing this with my students, I could put them into breakout rooms and assign them areas to work on. You know, this group of students is going to label parts of the ant's body. This group of students is going to label elements in the environment, things like that. This screen sharing is not being very cooperative. I'm not sure if that one's any better. Do we have the screen again, or is it still lost? Okay, can you all see my screen again? It appeared and disappeared. Yes, that's okay. I can switch to this screen, just trying to keep up with my dual windows here. Okay, while I was on my YouTube screen, I noticed that Wendy had asked about sharing with my students, and I would share with my students the same way that I'm sharing with you now. So I would do a Zoom session, though in my world it would be a Microsoft Teams session. I would share my screen. I'd go over to ThingLink and they would be looking at my screen. And through the chat, I would have them participate in the image or, you know, create breakout rooms and have them follow that way. Okay. Okay, sorry, things seem to be coming and going. So I'm trying to keep up with the YouTube chat for questions, but I'm having a hard time. Here we go. Keeping up with the chat. So I hope that's clear. Just imagine this as whatever your platform is for online learning, and you'd share your screen, because when I'm doing it, it's not an app, it's just a website. So I go in and I add and added an image, and now we'll start to add some tags. So okay, we're running out a bit of time. I was hoping to get some interaction, but the lag in the YouTube is a bit much for me. So let's add a tag here. We'll title it, forgive my lack of knowledge about ants, but we'll call her the queen ant. This ant is the mother of all ants. She is the biggest and the, I don't know, laziest. Obviously not language I would use with my students, right? Button URL, let's call it Wikipedia. I know there's better things to do out there, but you know, I'm in a crunch here. Whoops, this one is Wikipedia, and this one is www. whatever site I'm using for ants. I would add a video, add an image. I grab my images from Google. I kind of check for the licenses on them, but there are other, what is it, Creative Commons. There's a lot of great places to get images, and then upload your audio, and voila, you have your first tag. And I don't know, who should we call? Should we call her the queen? Do queens have wings? What do I know, right? The immersive reader works for anything inside. See right here? Here's the immersive reader. You just click on it and you go and play.
This ant is the mother of all ants. She is the biggest and the laziest.
And you'll have to, immersive reader is a whole nother session on its own, but anything in your tag has immersive reader. Anything that you've labeled the image with, add your own tags there. Stark's Math Entertainment is asking me how students collaborate to label. And that's what I mentioned earlier, where I could put them into a breakout room and have them talk to each other about how they want to label. They can do some research. They can open a window. And if I say, okay, go to this site and learn for me all the names of the ants in a colony. So I don't know, I'm thinking bees here, but you know, there's a queen ant, there are worker ants, there are drone ants, I don't know. But the students could go and research that, bring it back to me. I would add it to the tags. And then I could have another group, okay, I want you to go and research what ants eat. Another group, I could send them off to research how ants work together as a team. So we only have 5 minutes left. So if there's any other questions, just checking in on the chat here. I think I have answered all the questions in the chats that I've seen. Once it's done, you get a link. So I share this, I share the link, and I just email it out to my students. And then here, let me copy the link. I will send it to YouTube. And then that's what you would see. The students can click on all these things. They can interact with the image as much as they need. If they're working on a paper, they can click on this, write down, jot down that note, etc. So they can refer back to this as much as they need. They don't need you anymore. So is that what that becomes, what asynchronous learning, because they can refer to this image anytime they go back to the link, they stay forever. So I have a few that I've created now. This one here was the one I was telling you about for my student to practice pronunciation, water slide. I had a student do elephant toothpaste for a science experiment. This one here was just an image, a vocabulary building activity for a group I had to pull out. So yes, Elizabeth, like I mentioned, the presentation and the slides are all available already. So help yourself. That bit link I sent out, easy to remember, but they're all on the VirtuEL website and they will stay there forever. Do students have to log in to change it? If you want your students to create an account, yes. And Angela, I would be very careful about how they're editing the main ones. I'm a bit of a control freak, so I would have them co-create it with you and then create their own. And if they could work in teams to create their own, but I wouldn't want them editing mine. So there we go. That's ThingLink. So like I said, please keep in touch on Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter. I'd love to see what you're creating. And if you want any, suggestions or input on how to do it, ThingLink is also very active on Twitter. So tag them in to your sessions. So I think there I will let you go and look forward to keeping the conversation going for anybody who wants to drop me a line. So there we are. Take care, have fun, go link things.